Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Tigard City Council meeting this evening on September 23rd. I now call Tigard City Council and the Local Contract Review Board and Town Center Development Agency meeting to order. City Recorder Krager, would you please complete roll call?
Councilor Robbins. Councilor Schlack.
Here.
Councilor Shaw.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Wolf.
Here.
Youth Councilor Heller.
Here.
Councilor Deducey.
Present.
Councilor Hu.
Here.
Okay. So before we all stand and I ask you to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I think we all recognize that a lot has happened in the last couple of weeks, and we are certainly in a period of transition, but through it all, I believe deeply and truly appreciate the commitment of council and our city staff to look ahead to the future and not the past. So tonight we'll be discussing the next steps for determining who Tigard will have as their next mayor. So whatever that decision, I am confident that city services, initiatives, and priorities will continue to move forward uninterrupted. As an example, I would like to share that results of the National Community Survey were recently released and found a high majority of Tigard community members strongly believe that these facets of livability, which are natural environment, our utilities, parks and recreation, and safety, are of excellent or good quality, as well as seen as essential or very important. So what these ratings reflect are our parks, our police officers, our public works, our community activities that are delivered all by Tigard staff. Staff improved our online accessibility for business licenses, and we continue to maintain a strong financial position as measured by our AAA bond rating. So as a Tigard resident, I am proud of the great things that we are doing. I also know that we have a lot left to do, and I look forward to approaching that work with authentic partnerships, a spirit of collaboration, professionalism, and a recognition that when we work together, we can continue to accomplish great things. So thank you for that, and would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Council and City Manager Stockwell, do we have any non-agenda items this evening? Okay. We will move on to proclamations and recognition. And our first proclamation, I would ask that Michelle Canoke and Jordan Davale-Tinonian, hopefully I said that correct, come forward. And this proclamation is a week without driving. In recognition of the importance of equitable mobility, I proclaim September 29th to October 5th as Week Without Driving in Tigard. Mobility is essential to health, opportunity, and community connection, yet many residents cannot drive due to age, disability, or the high cost of car ownership. Public transportation, sidewalks, bike paths, are not always available, making daily life more challenging for non-drivers. By spending a week without driving, we better understand the barriers and how to improve transportation options for all. This proclamation calls on Tigard residents to participate, reflect on the experience of non-drivers, and join in building an equitable transportation system that benefits everyone. So Michelle and Jordan, welcome, and you are from the West Side Transportation Alliance, and I think, Jordan, you wanted to speak, or both of you, so please, welcome and go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf. And thank you, councilors, for taking on the recognition of Week Without Driving, which starts next Monday. We're really looking forward to it, and just kind of call to action that we encourage you to join the Week Without Driving. It's not a disability simulation. It's just a little bit of a challenge, a time to reflect on your busy lives and the responsibilities or putting yourself in the shoes of Tiger residents, Washington County residents, Metro residents who can or do not drive for one of those reasons. We think that this is such a great first step for a long road ahead of improving other transportation options for people who can or don't drive. We really look forward to working with the city as the transportation demand management organization for Washington County to help the city meet its goals, to help council meet their goals, and make living, working in Tigard and Washington County better for everyone, including those who do and don't drive, because it benefits all of us. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. And I have the proclamation framed for you, and then if council will join me for a photo, we will. I'll make sure I get the right one. Thanks. Asher, you can take it. Oh. And then we'll do the photo. Sorry about that. I thought I lost my strategic notes here. So our second proclamation this evening is about Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I invite Police Detective Rennell and Community Engagement Coordinator Bauer, and they will introduce this proclamation. Welcome to both of you.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf and Council. Thank you for having us. We have something very important to talk about tonight. Every year in October, it's recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is something that affects every community everywhere, including Tigard. And there's no one better to speak to it than Detective Rennell, who works cases like this all the time. It's calls we receive daily. So with that, I'll have her introduce Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. This October, we observe Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Domestic violence can take many forms, including physical, emotional, financial, and digital abuse. It impacts people from every background, and too often survivors carry the burden in silence out of fear or shame. These calls are among the most dangerous situations our officers respond to, and the Tigard Police Department is committed to protecting victims, holding offenders accountable, and working with community partners to break the cycle of violence. We honor the work of advocates, volunteers, and organizations that provide shelter, counseling, and resources to help survivors rebuild their lives. As a community, we must continue raising awareness, learning the warning signs, and standing with those affected. By working together, we can strengthen safety and support for all of those who are impacted by domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Detective, and it is very important. And council would like to present this to you, and would you like a photo to? Excellent. Okay, and then our last proclamation this evening is the Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival. And I am sure that Mr. Tu is here. I thought I saw him earlier. Yes. So you can come on up. And I am proud to proclaim October 4th, 2025 as Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival Day. Since the first Vietnamese immigrants arrived after the Vietnam War, the Vietnamese American community has enriched Tigard and Oregon through culture, faith, business, and civic life. The Mid-Autumn Festival, also known as the Moon Festival and the Festival for Children, is a joyful tradition marked by food, family, and celebration under the full moon. On this day, I encourage all Tigard residents to honor our Vietnamese neighbors, celebrate their traditions, and recognize the lasting contributions they bring to the life of our community. Thank you. And Mr. Tu, did you have anything you wanted to share?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf and the City Council members. My name is Thao Đức Từ, President of the Vietnamese Community of Oregon. On behalf of my community, thank you so much for recognizing the Vietnamese American Mid-Autumn Festival in 2025. This year, we will celebrate the Mid-Autumn Festival at Lackamarck High School on October 4, 2025. We welcome all of you to join with us that day. Again, thank you so much, and we are very glad to be here with the city of Tiger.
Thank you. And they do know how to put on a festival, so I do encourage all to go. Thank you so much.
We do have the certificate of appreciation to send to the city of Tiger. Thank you. And the proclamation.
Got 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is public comment. The call-in number is 503-966-4101, and those wishing to comment should call now to get into the queue. Anyone present wanting to comment should sign up on the public comment forms in the front of the room. And it appears that we do have public comment this evening. Public comment submitted in written form. There were 10 written comments received, 1 on unsafe rental property conditions, 6 requesting an election public involvement to fill the mayor vacancy, 2 mentioned specifically houselessness as an issue, 1 regarding houseless people camping on city property, 1 requesting a response regarding the city's work and environment, and 1 requesting nuisance building developmental code enforcement related to a neighbor's property. So for those that are in person, City Recorder Krager, I'm assuming this is my complete list at this time. Okay, and so just as a reminder, the public comment protocol is up on the screen for those that will be giving public comment this evening. And just as a reminder, you have 2 minutes, and that will go up on the screen as well, so you can check your timing. And I think with that, we will go ahead and get started. And Roger Potoff from Tigard is our first speaker this evening. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you. Was this the last person's piece?
May I join? Because I'm in solidarity.
So if the light's green, it's on, right? Okay. Well, thank you, city councilors. I appreciate the opportunity to address an issue that's been long-standing. This is not the first time that I have come before the council on this issue, but it lingers. And there's been attempts to modify the code and the regulations, and in fact, that was back in 2022. And Mayor Snyder, before he left office, made comment that this was a fraud issue. It was uncertain in terms of whether eliminating all of the regulations and just relying on the nuisance code without objective criteria as exists in other jurisdictions would be effective. And he encouraged the city, the council, to revisit this every year for 3 years. And I know that there was a review after the first year, but it was really, it wasn't like a public hearing type of event. It was like asking staff, well, how many people have complained, and et cetera. And I can tell you that there's nowhere else in Tigard where the conditions that exist at 11650 Ann Street are replicated. And we live next door to that property. There are over 40 chickens, ducks, quail, 5 goats, and it's an amazing situation. And I've spoken with the Department of Agriculture, Oregon Health Authority. This is all within the last few weeks, and they are astounded, and they're watching this very carefully. I thank you for your attention to this matter. I think we do need to bring it forward again and take a close look at this as to whether it's working for the whole city or even just for one family and one street, because we are not alone on Ann Street in being concerned about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. Our next public speaker for public comment is Elizabeth Sprague in Tigard.
Hi, thank you. I do not have anything prepared. I was not planning on being here tonight. I'm not dressed for it. I was actually working out in my yard installing new security cameras due to the continued harassment from our neighbor, Mr. Roger Potoff, when we saw him driving this way, which unfortunately I know means he is coming here to likely discuss my home and my family. We have had to call the Tigard Police to come out several times within the last couple months. Most recent just a couple days ago. My family does not feel safe. One of the instances, I had to text my husband from inside our shed in the backyard because Roger was over our back fence filming me by myself in the backyard milking our goats. Had to text my husband to come outside. He did. Police came, all of that. This behavior is not okay. I'm just here to make sure you know there's another side to the story, and I'm sure there's plenty more I'd like to say, but like I said, I was not planning on being here tonight until last minute.
Elizabeth, thank you for coming forward. So our next speaker is Mike Sprague of Tigard.
Hello, apologies for this having come to the city council again. This has already
Oh,
been figured
Mike,
out.
you need to go green. There you go.
Hello, apologies for bringing this to city council again. This has already been done. We work closely with the city to make sure we're in code compliance. Ken Ross has been out to our property. We have had someone, the neighbor, report us for a new shed that we put in, which is within code, the size. He has claimed that it is a dwelling for people. It's not. Ken Ross has been out there. We have a meeting scheduled with the chief of police because they have been called. He didn't get the what he wanted from the code compliance. We have a pest control company that comes out continuously and checks, makes sure that we're taking care of any rats or anything. We I have right here, I have at least 3 incident reports that I have called on him harassing my wife. I sometimes have to go out of town. I don't feel safe going out of town for her because of how he acts with her. The last one, I was out in the front yard chipping up. We get chipdrop.com, which is free chip bark chips from tree companies. I was out there chipping it up smaller because they have sticks in there and whatnot. He decided at 6:30 to call to complain to the police that I was using heavy equipment, which was either my tractor, which is a large lawnmower, which has got a lawnmower on it, but it has a bucket hoe and a small little backhoe on it. This is used on properties all around our area. Actually, in fact, it's we do work on the property on the other side of him. We cleaned it up when she was injured, and this was a couple years ago now. And then we are actually in 2 to 3 weeks going up to another property up on Walnut Street because his wife had a stroke and broke her hip. This equipment is used on there. It's not overly huge. It can fit on the property. And our whole entire property is either edible or medicinal. Yes, we have goats. Yes, we milk them, and we have eggs. But there is nothing that is unusual when I am out of time. Apologies.
No, thank you, Mike. Okay. Our final public comment is from Mary Hatley, I believe.
My comment today is I would like for the Tigard City Council to work on the concept of that a laissez-faire government doesn't work. It leads to a dystopian society. And what matters here on Ann Street are health concerns. If people want to farm 5 miles away, there is the urban growth boundary. Have it there. And I also want to mention that Roger is not filming Elizabeth Sprague. He's filming the chaos that we're living next door to. He's talked to epidemiologists. He's talked to so many people, knowledgeable people, and they confirm his concerns. And so why do we have to live next door? It's a health hazard, okay? It's a health hazard. And, you know, I've got 41 seconds left, but I have nothing left to say other than please bring back some code into Tigard. All the communities around us have code for this. Tigard doesn't. And going back to Mayor Snyder, let's revisit this, please. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, that closes our public comment in person. So, Mr. Vang, are there any phone, or video callers in the queue?
None at the moment.
Okay. So then I think with that, we close public comment and we move to the city manager's report.
Mayor Pro Tem Wolf and members of the council, we want to thank the people who came to our Police and Public Works Family Fun Day on Saturday. We had more than 1,500 people show up, which is almost double our attendance from the same event last year. We were blown away by the amazing interactions we had, from kiddos trying on gear and getting in big trucks, to parents and seniors learning more about how we serve people across Tigard, whether it's a street repair, maintaining our water supply, or responding to police calls. We really appreciate people learning more about our first responders and showing up in such a big way as we work to continually build relationships and strengthen partnerships with the people we serve. Thanks to our community engagement team, particularly Maddie Bauer from the Police Department and Jessica Love and Peyton Stang from Public Works, and all of our employees, volunteers, and counselors who gave up a part of their beautiful Saturday to spend time talking about their work with the people they serve. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thank you, City Manager. Any questions, comments? I know many of us were there with those enjoying a beautiful Saturday. So, Councilor Slack.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank all of our teammates who participated and made that day a reality. I was off in a corner by the police department talking about building a better Tigard the entire time, but I could tell from just the amount of people we were getting in that far-flung corner that a lot of people were coming through, a lot of people were having a great time. I still have my temporary tattoo from that day. Councilor Shaw too. So thank you all very much for everyone who made probably one of the last nice days of this year such a memorable event. It was really great.
Thank you, Councilor Slack. Any other comments? Yes, kudos to the Tiger teams. It was a great event, but I do not have my tattoo still. It is washed off. So with that, we will move forward to our consent agenda. The consent agenda is used for routine items. Information on each is available on the city's website in the packet for this meeting. These items may be enacted in one motion without separate discussion. Council members may request that an item be removed by motion for discussion and separate action. So tonight we have just one consent item, a resolution to identify the city's voting delegate and alternate to represent the city at the Oregon League of Cities Conference in 2025, which is coming up shortly in October. Councilor Robbins.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Seconded.
Motion was moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries by unanimous support of the council. Okay. So now we move to the Local Contract Review Board, Safety Video Surveillance Solutions with related equipment, software, and accessories. And at this, yes, welcome Lieutenant Erickson.
Well, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, City Council. For the record, Lee Erickson, Patrol Lieutenant with the Tiger Police Department. Here tonight to talk about the upcoming proposed contract for Axon services, body-worn cameras, tasers, in-car video, and a bunch of other related services that come with that. This is the culmination of several months of negotiation, and it's built on the back of several years of experience working with Axon and their products. Next slide, please. So this contract is in support of council goals. First, cultivate Tigard as a great place to live, work, and play. Specifically, Strategy 3.3, broaden and strengthen community safety and resiliency. So these systems allow us to have tools that increase safety for the community and for us, and create more options for us to employ in dangerous and critical situations. It also supports Strategy 3.4, provide meaningful community connections through programs, events, and other opportunities. Specifically, this includes the My90 program that we've been using for a little over a year now that allows for direct, proactive feedback. It solicits feedback from people who call for calls for service from us to let us know how we're doing and provide us that feedback. Also, Goal 4, deliver resilient, sustainable, and well-maintained facilities that provide reliable and efficient services to our community. Strategy 4.1, plan for future while maintaining current city facilities in a manner supporting sustainability and fiscal stewardship. Specifically for current city facilities, this contract and what we're currently employing with Axon is digital evidence storage in the cloud. So not having to maintain that infrastructure on site relieves a lot of stress and work for city staff, as well as fiscal stewardship, packaging all of these services that we're using every day and plan to in the future helps us save money. As well as strategy 4.2, build a solid foundation for the future police and public works facility, which include a resilient emergency operations center. So this contract includes integrated services and data fusion that will allow us to provide information to the emergency operations center and to other emergency decision makers, as well as routine decision makers, to help inform us to make better decisions on an emergency or daily basis. Next slide, please. This also supports the community promise, the 5 E's. Equity, ensuring all voices are heard. The My90 program allows us to do that. Environment, using leading edge technology to reduce our footprint while responding to emergencies and calls for service. Using that data fusion to make better decisions on where resources should go and how to use them. Economy, bundling the services, as I mentioned before, and equipment into one technology ecosystem to save money, time, resources, and efficiencies. Engagement, creating opportunities to share with our community and solicit for feedback. And excellence, keeping our department equipment and personnel in the best possible condition with support and training. Next slide, please. So our history, we've been using in-car video systems, what people commonly refer to dash cams, but they've since evolved from just dash cams to full-on systems that incorporate rear cameras and other equipment, microphones. Going back to 2005, so 20 years now, we've had in-car video systems, and we continue to this day. We're on our 3rd generation of systems, which went in 2021 with our current Axon contract. Body-worn cameras we've been using for almost 17 years now. We started with our motors because we couldn't put dash cams or in-car video systems on the motorcycles. We tried. It actually ran down the batteries on the motorcycles, and those things are expensive. So we gave them real 1st generation body-worn cameras and grew from there. We also started about 10 years ago with our school resource officers and our canines, deploying the Axon body cameras in the Body 2. And then in 2021, we went full deployment with all of our officers in body-worn cameras with the current contract. Conducted energy weapons and tasers, first deployed in 2003, and continuing on up through all the generations of technology to the current Taser 7, which we have today. In this contract, we're proposed to go to the Taser 10, which is the most current generation of tasers. Individual cameras, we've gone from 35mm cameras with wet film to digital cameras, and now we use a capture application from Axon on our phones to do digital evidence in the field, and then it allows us to directly upload the video or the photos to the cloud wherever we're at. We're also using Axon Interview to do interviews in the police department. It's required for all Measure 11 crimes and juvenile interviews. And so again, it allows us just to conduct our interviews and then put the digital evidence directly into the cloud. And then, as I mentioned before, this cloud-based storage saves a lot of energy, or saves a lot of resources for us. It's all secured in the cloud, and we'll go into some more details on how that's secure here in a minute. Next slide, please. So again, the current state, body-worn cameras, they're required for all uniformed personnel and our detectives when they're wearing their protective vests on pre-planned missions. The fleet and dash cams, it's in all of our vehicles now. All fully marked patrol cars have these systems in them. We're currently with Fleet 2, and we have Fleet 3, which is the newest version, in a limited number of vehicles to test it. And so far, the feedback on it has been largely positive. And again, that allows for direct data upload in the field. We currently have Taser 7s. We're currently using Axon Capture and Community Portal, which allows us to send an email link to community members to send in digital evidence that they may have to us directly. It goes straight into evidence.com. The officers are then able to see it, triage it, and add it to the case. Axon Air allows us to record flight logs for all of our drones, as well as stream the video from drones in operation so that incident commanders can make better decisions. I've already talked about Axon Interview, My90, evidence.com, and again, all of this is under one contract that we're proposing to renew. Next slide, please. The main advantages from an information technology standpoint is right now we're managing 55 terabytes of data. That's 55,000 gigabytes of data in one spot. That'd be a lot for the city to try and manage right now, but it's all on the cloud, it's all secured. Axon Community Portal I've already talked about. That'd be a lot of staff resources for us to try and manage that here. There's the external support that comes with this contract, so if any of the devices break or there's any kind of problems with it, they're responsive, and I can tell you from our experience over the last 4 years under this contract, we've had 0 issues with that. They're fully CGIS compliant with all of the records and maintaining data security. It's instantly accessible, and it's remote viewing by supervisors of live actions, whether it be with the body cameras, the in-car video, or the drones. It also provides for real-time alerts. So if an officer draws their firearm in the field or activates their taser in the field, supervisors can receive an alert and begin to live stream the body-worn camera video from that officer through the evidence.com portal. And then FUSIS allows for integration to monitor information from multiple sources in real time while responding to emergencies and calls for service to, again, help us make better decisions in a faster manner. Next slide, please. So data security, I know there were some questions about data security and how the data was managed. So just to reiterate, the city owns all of the data that is produced under this contract. That's by state law as well as by the terms of the contract. Our data cannot be released without our approval. All the data, every piece of evidence has its own audit log that's available to us at any time. We can see it. Anytime a piece of evidence is touched, we get to see who did it and at what time and for what reason. It's all stored on the cloud, and Axon uses Microsoft Azure for Government to maintain an appropriate level of data separation. And they use a defense in depth strategy that combines proactive vulnerability management, continuous monitoring, and rigorous third-party assessments to mitigate risks. I can tell you anytime that there is a issue with evidence.com where all this evidence is managed, we get emails saying there's a problem, we're investigating. Every hour we get updates, and then once it's resolved, whatever the mitigation steps that we're taking, we're notified about. Next slide, please. There's also some concerns about AI and employing that. Axon doesn't use our data or any customer data for training or fine-tuning its AI systems. It does use AI in some of their services, including some of the systems that we are currently using. Respond and FUSIS, which is, again, that ability for supervisors to receive alerts if officers are in emergency situations and track their locations. Also, Redaction Assistant, which allows our property and evidence specialists to redact evidence to ensure privacy for public records requests or discovery requests. We're looking at adding AI-powered translation service. So basically, through the body-worn camera, this is a service that would allow us to hit a button. The person can speak into it. It would detect what language they're speaking, and then it would translate for us in the field. Up to 50 languages at this point are supported with that service. Next slide, please. So again, in conclusion, this is Axon's uniquely positioned to support us as we move forward. We're not a super large agency like Portland or Seattle or any of those other agencies, but Axon's able to support us with our mission and provide us with the technology that we like to use. The technology assurance program that's included in this contract ensures that we have the latest equipment. We get technology refreshes, so that means we get replacement equipment at 30 months and at 60 months with new body-worn cameras. And at 60 months, we get new in-car video systems, new body-worn cameras, and new tasers. This fits the District Attorney's Office recommendation that they want to see one system for all the digital evidence that's sent out to them. All the other agencies around us are using Axon. And this was supported with a unanimous endorsement from the Public Safety Advisory Board when we first proposed it in 2021. Next slide. So in conclusion, staff recommends awarding a contract to Axon Enterprise and direct the city manager to take the necessary steps to execute the contract for these services. And I'll take any questions.
Thank you, Lieutenant. I do want to, as council knows, this is kind of our second round of conversation when we focused on FUSIS. I appreciate the additional follow-up from Councilor Hu and Councilor Gadusi. I don't know if either of you want to make any additional comments. Councilor Hu.
Yeah, thank you to the chief, and thank you for the presentation. Thank you to the chief and your team for answering all my questions relating to data privacy, and for Chief having meeting with me and Councilor Gadusi to follow up additional questions and provide additional document. Right now, I'm very comfortable with the direction, but just clarifying that we're not using FUSIS module anytime soon, right? That's my understanding.
Correct.
Okay.
We're not using FUSIS at any time soon.
Okay, yeah, and so just something, a comment made to our Washington County Sheriff as well. So in the future, if we are heading down the direction, looks like for using FUSIS, I would really appreciate a public engagement process to discuss what that means for the city. So in addition to consultation with our city manager and hopefully the council, because I talked to the policy director of Central Cultural. They mainly serve our Latino and immigrant community. I talked with her a couple of times about their concern about using the surveillance technology in law enforcement. And I don't think they're objecting to it per se, but they just would like a conversation about it before we go ahead with any more advanced technology like that. So yeah, so I will encourage you to reach out to not just the business community, but community like Central Cultural before it's clear that we're heading down the FUSIS direction. But other than that, thank you so much for your presentation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilor Gadusi.
Thank you again. I know I was your harshest critic last time, and so I appreciate everyone chatting with me about everything. I haven't had any issues with the hardware. Axon's sort of been, the leading edge, both with the military and with the police departments around the world. The fact that it doesn't use the data to train our models is reassuring. The fact that it's our data and the external auditing, all of that ends up sort of looping together and being reassuring overall. My primary concern overall is always mission creep and the fact that we don't have any sort of governance here in the city of Tigard in order to address that. So really the way that it is set up now seems fine and appropriate. I'm just looking ahead, even 6 months to a year. The last time you brought this forward, FUSIS wasn't a part of it, and it was an add-on, right? And within these last few months, that's changed significantly. So I would move that the City Council approve the Axon contract for public safety surveillance solutions with the condition that the City of Tigard implement a technology and AI oversight framework prior to the surveillance technology beyond current body and in-car camera systems be deployed, like the FUSIS and AI tech.
So I'm sure council noted the addition from Councilor Gadusi, and so I appreciate that. So just looking for a second.
I will second that.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Councilor Shaw.
Thank you so much, Councilor Gadusi. Just that was fast and for my ear. So if you wouldn't mind just repeating the addition you added, that we would be, as a council, approving, that would be helpful for me. Thank you so much.
So just to set the baseline, I hate committees with a passion. And so if I'm proposing a committee or a framework, that means it's something I'm passionate about. So I would move that we approve the Axon contract for public safety video surveillance solutions with the condition that the City of Tigard implement a technology and AI oversight framework or committee prior to the surveillance technology beyond the current body in-car camera systems that we're deploying, so prior to FUSIS implementation.
Mr. Shaw, do you have a follow-up? Go ahead and then.
Perhaps just a question, if we could separate the two, but happy to have Councilor Slack answer. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I have concerns as local contract review board about awarding a contract and stipulating conditions of staff work. I'm open to having that conversation, but I would prefer that it come through the non-agenda item process on our council ground rules, so that way staff can consult on what that looks like and we can sort of understand what we're approving a little bit more. Council's welcome to proceed with the motion as it is, but if there are 4 votes, I will not be one of those 4 votes.
Councilor Robbins.
Thank you. And my mic worked. I think that what you brought up is a very good thing to bring up. And as far as from what I'm understanding, does this contract allow the police department to start using FUSIS? I realize it's not using it now, but can you just add it in, or would you need approval?
The contract includes FUSIS in there. Implementation wouldn't start until probably November. That's when the actual equipment and services would be turned on. But again, we wouldn't start using FUSIS until we've gone through a further review process.
So that's sooner than what I thought based on how this was presented, that it wouldn't be until, it sounded like it was further down the road. So I'm glad we learned that. My concern is from the answer that we got from the additional questions about who will decide if or when FUSIS will be implemented in the future. And it says, as for the decision to deploy it, this should be a conversation with the city manager to determine if and when we would use this portion of the offering. Until there is approval from the city manager, we would not move forward with its use. So does that mean that city council is just out of this conversation now?
Mayor Pro Tem, if I may. Jamie McDonald, your chief of police. I mean, the conversation that I had with the city manager about this when we were talking about putting together a framework for this was that we wouldn't move forward with the use of FUSIS unless the city manager had approved it. And the conversation that he and I had was that he would be consulting with all of you. In what format, I'm not sure, but consulting with all of you and letting you know or talking to you about whether or not to move forward with that component of the contract. So because we can't divide it out, it's just part of the package, that was where we came up with to be able to move forward with it. So we don't have any intention of moving forward with using the FUSIS component in this until we feel that it's right for this community. And you all are the ones that are most likely to tell us whether or not it's the right timing to be able to use that part of the technology. So we have no intention of moving forward with it. As Lieutenant Erickson mentioned, the implementation from the contract renewal would happen probably in about November-ish, meaning that that's when we would have the availability to use it. We have no intention of using it at any time in the foreseeable future.
So I'm wondering, City Manager Stockwell, I'm sure that could be a process that you could facilitate, but is council looking, if we go back to the original motion, that we shift so that has to come back and be presented to council in some fashion? So we could let this die, right, vote, and it just, dies on the floor with a nay, is what and then someone come back with a motion subject to council approval, prior to implementation of the FUSIS, is what I'm trying to get at. So it's a little bit different, and maybe Councilor Gadusi, for council to approve it, you're like, well, I want to see a framework for how this would work. And so we can work on that as a component of council approving it when it's prepared. I guess I'm trying to move you forward with a contract, but recognizing I think there's still concern on council that we still have say. Yes, Councilor.
I see our city attorney nodding her head. So is there more, we can vote on this right now, but if it fails, is there more appropriate motion to reflect what Mayor Pro Tem just mentioned?
So thank you, Council. So I would recommend exactly what Mayor Pro Tem proposed, that there is a motion and a second on the floor. So either that is withdrawn or voted on and dies. And then the condition would be subject to council's approval prior to moving forward with the implementation of FUSIS. And then that could include the framework that Councilor Gadusi proposed or any other conditions that council would want to put on it at that time, if that's acceptable with the police department.
City Manager.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I would love to work with the two counselors that moved and seconded this to come back with an agenda item in the future that clarifies that issue, so that you can go ahead and approve the contract now, and then we'll work through the council ground rules process on adding agenda items to bring that back in a later date. Thank you.
So then I think that aligns well with the revised motion that says it comes back for council approval. So do y'all want to vote and have it die, or Councilor Gadusi, you want to withdraw your motion and restate it?
I don't quite understand the difference between the two. So what specifically are the differences?
So I think that your framework was more specific. So what I think this does is, instead of, to Councilor Robbins' point, having City Manager Stockwell say green light go, what it's asking is it moves the contract forward, but it has to come back to council. And in the meantime, City Manager Stockwell will work with you and Councilor Hu on what does it have to be to then move forward. So I think we're getting the contract out the door, but we're still have put in a braking mechanism for FUSIS that requires it to come back before that's actually executed, if that makes sense. And that you two will work with City Manager Stockwell before that comes back to council. And yes, and Chief McDonald, for sure. So does that make more sense?
Sounds good.
Okay. Would you like to withdraw your motion and restate?
I would like to withdraw my motion and restate. I have to restate.
Or someone, Councilor Hu.
Okay, I will move to approve awarding a contract to Axon Enterprises, Inc. for public safety video surveillance solution with related equipment, software, and accessory, with the condition that council approval is required before the activation of the FUSIS module.
I second.
Excellent. Is there any additional discussion? Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Motion passed by a majority of the council. Thank you both. Okay, next item on the agenda is the legislative public hearing, ordinance amending TMC 7.58 regarding exclusions. And I open the public hearing so that anyone who chooses to testify by phone, video, or in person may call now to get into the queue, and then you would call 503-966-4101. And then I will look to City Attorney Rahala for a staff report. Thank you.
Thank you, Council. So this change is to allow for more flexibility in our exclusion process. Currently, the code says that an exclusion is for a period of 30 to 180 days. This creates some situations in which it is too long and others in which it is too short. So the proposal before you tonight is to take out those timeframes and allow more discretion on the part of the police department and municipal court to impose timelines. So I'm happy to answer any questions. It is supported by police department and library, where a lot of the exclusions come from. It was brought forth in collaboration with those departments.
Very good, thank you. So at this time, there were no written comments received by noon on Monday. There's no current comments from this evening, right? So for anyone speaking to give comment here. And then, Mr. Vang, is there any callers in the queue to testify?
No callers.
Okay. So with that, we will close the public hearing. So now we will move to council consideration of ordinance number 25-06. Question, or I will look for a motion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve ordinance number 25-06.
I second the motion.
Motion was made and seconded to approve ordinance number 25-06. Any discussion? Councilor Robbins.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just for everyone's understanding what this means, in exclusion in this case is basically, would it be fair to call it a ban from public property if somebody misbehaves or breaks public behavior rules? I'm sure we can think of a lot of them. Then they are excluded or banned from the property for any amount of time. That could be hopefully not something like 30 minutes, but a day or two. Does it go all the way up to indefinitely, as in you may never come back?
So technically, and yes, thank you for the question. So that is correct. It is a ban from public property. Technically, in theory, it could be indefinite. I would say it would be very hard to justify that legally. So the intent here is to really create flexibility, but not to create some kind of open-ended constitutional issue. So we are working on a behavior matrix that would kind of give us some parameters. Also, in our code, there is the opportunity for both an appeal and a variance. So if somebody is faced with an appeal, or if somebody is given an exclusion, they have the opportunity to appeal it on the front end. So upon issuance, they could appeal it. A variance would be more partway through. They realize that they have the need to access this facility or property, and then they would appeal, or they would appear before the municipal court and request a variance. So even if in some super egregious situation it was an indefinite, I can't think of a situation like that. I would say a year would be the most likely long term, but even in that case, there would be an opportunity for a variance, and the person could present that argument to the municipal court.
So follow-up question then. Thank you. That's very informative. Would it be more reasonable then to say up to 1 year, or do you want that flexibility just in case?
I wouldn't be opposed to a year because, like I said, I think all of our situations are going to fit within that. The intent was just maximum flexibility if council is comfortable with that. So I would be okay either way, whichever your discretion.
And who decides the sentence, the exclusion?
So the police department, so it has to be issued by a sworn police officer, an exclusion. So at the time that police officer issues the exclusion, the determination would be made. But again, it would be, if appealed, it would be the municipal court judge that would have the final authority on that.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments? Yes.
I just wanted to state for the council's awareness that I had similar questions to Councilor Robbins that I asked City Attorney Rahala before this meeting, and I'm fine with passing the ordinance as is, but my personal preference would be to set an upper limit of 1 year, just because I have concerns about it being, not that the city would misread it as indefinite, it's just that was my first read of it, and I just had concerns about how that read as an ordinance. Totally understand the removing the lower limit, though. I'm fine with either in practice.
Mayor Pro Tem, I would like to propose an amendment to have it read instead of just, I'm trying to see. Okay. To change it to say for a period of up to 1 year, rather than taking out the time.
I will second that motion to amend.
Okay, so just the amendment is
Yeah,
on the
just amend.
floor. So the vote will be to amend, and then we'll go back and vote on the amended motion. Councilor Shaw, did you have another question?
Perhaps not a question, but a wonder if there was a reason why it wasn't included in the first place and why there was maximum flexibility. Because it seemed to me with the appeal and variance, that answers the 1 year question, but if that's the direction, I'm fine with it as well.
And there was really no great calculation with it. It was really just to delete the timeframes and rely on flexibility. But as I said, I'm totally comfortable with the 1 year maximum.
Okay. Are we? City Manager.
Yeah, if I may, this was something that I was involved in asking about after an incident that occurred at the Tigard Public Library. And I would advocate for maximum flexibility on this situation, because when it's too limited in a situation where someone has harassed a city employee and that city employee feels uncomfortable being at work at that, I just ask that we have a little bit more flexibility to make the exclusion kind of fit the extent of the problem. And it seemed to me that it was too limited previously, and so we wanted more discretion on that, because we had a situation where an individual came in, exposed themselves, had a say of harassing an employee, exposed themselves to that employee, and we only had that limited amount, right? We felt having a longer period of time with the ability to appeal if someone had understood the consequences of their action and had a commitment. Because otherwise, then we have a situation, they're free to come in, they do it again, and then we as an employer haven't adequately protected our employees. And so that's just when I had talked to the police chief about it, that was one of the things that I was concerned about. And so I just felt it's prudent to explain to you the seriousness of some of these situations that we have of people kind of taking advantage or abusing their access in a public facility. Again, I'm concerned about the constitutional limitations too, but I think there was enough. There's enough context in place for that. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. And just for the record, I support an open-ended and believe the judgment of those assigning the time would be appropriate. And if there is a situation that it has an option to appeal or adjust. So, so that is my stand, just as an FYI. Anyone else want to comment, or we will move to the vote only on the amendment? Yes, Councilor Schott.
City Manager, thank you for providing that example. And I think that's sort of the level of what I'm trying to think about, like where would we start? Like what is a reasonable expectation for a maximum ban? And I think I'm trying to weigh that with protecting employees, ensuring we have safe public environments, with recognizing that city property like the library is generally open to the public. I'm not expecting the city to abuse this provision and just start expelling people willy-nilly, and I think that's what I'm weighing right now. So I see both sides. Thank you.
Thank you. So City Manager Stockwell, are you requesting longer than a year? Because City Attorney Rihala had said she was okay with a year. Are you thinking that that's not long enough?
This subject that came up to me was an employee that asked to meet with me directly that was really concerned about their coworkers. And so I think having that flexibility, that if something was involved at this level and the police department came in and the police officer in consultation with their supervisors thought a time period longer than a year was justified, I think that makes sense. And remember too that I guess I'll add some additional context. At times, we have people that have done these similar things in other facilities and have been excluded from other facilities, and they come to our facility, and so there's this track record of having done that. And so I think you want to take into consideration the full circumstances there and give that discretion there with the ability to appeal or ask for a variance, so that we can match that exclusion to the situation. Thank you.
Okay, are we good with questions? So again, we are voting on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Nay.
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 The nays carry, so we are moving forward with the original motion to approve ordinance as written, number 2506. So now that I just said that, City Recorder Greer, will you please read the number and title of the ordinance?
Excuse me, do we need a separate motion and second to actually approve the ordinance since we were just, I didn't. I only heard the amendment being motioned and seconded. Oh, okay.
This will be the vote on the ordinance.
Correct. Yeah.
So ordinance number 25-06, an ordinance amending Tigard Municipal Code, Chapter 7.58 regarding exclusions.
Okay, City Recorder Kreger, would you please conduct a roll call vote, starting with Youth Councilor Howard for an advisory vote. Excuse me.
Youth Councilor Hellick.
Aye.
Councilor Robbins.
Aye.
Councilor Slack.
Aye.
Council President, or excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf.
All good. Aye.
Councilor Gudusi.
Aye.
Councilor Hu.
Yes.
Okay, with that, the motion carries unanimously.
Councilor Shaw.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
My apologies, Councilor Shaw. So now we're good, right? Okay.
Groove is off.
I know. Ordinance number 25-06 is voted unanimously by council for approval. Okay, at this point, we will move to the public hearing fiscal year 26 Q1 supplemental budget. And I open the public hearing. And I also, are there budget committee members in, if you just want to come forward, we'll have you have the opportunity during public testimony if you have questions, or you can just sit and listen and chill. But just wanted to recognize and thank you again for your participation. So that anyone that wants to testify by phone, video, or in person may call and get into the queue now by calling 503-966-4101. And Finance Director King will present the staff report. So welcome to both of you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf and members of council. For the record, my name is Eric King, and I'm the Finance Director for the city. I am joined here today with Senior Financial Analyst James Kennedy, who is here to help me respond to any questions that I am unable to answer. I am also joined by Budget Committee members in the audience who will also provide materials in advance. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, for recognizing them in the audience. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I see is not up there yet. Network Administrator Fang, do you have the PowerPoint available?
So it's not in the folder, but I'll try to see if I can get Carol to give it to me.
Well, I can continue on and wing it, or wait for the presentation material. Well, I suppose before we get started, tonight I'm here to present the supplemental budget for the City of Tigard and the Town Center Development Agency. The actions for these two items will be broken out into two separate agenda items, with the Town Center Development Agency taking place immediately afterwards. For the community members that are not familiar with the supplemental budget, it is an action intended to amend the adopted budget for the current fiscal year that is due to either unforeseen or unexpected circumstances during the time when the budget was developed. I wasn't planning on going to each line item detail in my presentation, but I'm happy to answer any questions at the end of my presentation. All the details for the supplemental items are included in the agenda packet and the exhibits. And I will give Network Administrator Vang just a few more minutes. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Can we go to the following slide, please? Great, thank you. So first I want to talk a bit about carry forwards. Some of the first few items that you'll see on the PowerPoint are carry forward items that were already encumbered or under contract at the end of the prior fiscal year. The funding for these items are from unspent funds that were appropriated in the prior fiscal year that we're requesting to be carried forward into this current fiscal year. So on this first slide right here, the significant item that I want to highlight is the carry forward request for the River Terrace 2.0 planning project. This is technically not a carry forward because it is a grant funded project. So we are just simply moving the revenue and expenses to this current fiscal year, and it's a net zero impact. However, all the other items are carry forward requests. I also do want to address a typo in the PowerPoint. The class comp study for 32,000 in the exhibits, it's correctly reflected as 90,900, and it's just a typo on the PowerPoint. But that is also a carry forward request for the class comp study that is already taking place. Next slide, please. So a few things to highlight on the other, for these departments. There's carry forward requests from the IT department. These are for projects that were delayed due to unforeseen circumstances and also with competing priorities. We did also have an unexpected carry forward request for the police department for the Modaxo contract, which was the prior vendor for the photo enforcement program. There's a final bill of sale to decommission their old equipment as we did switch to the new contractor, Vera Mobility, this year. For public works, most of these are equipment that have already been purchased and ordered in the prior fiscal year, but they just have not been delivered yet or installed. And so we don't expend the funds until that is all complete, and we won't pay until it's also complete and delivered. Next slide, please. So a few items here for capital improvement projects. All of these items here are just carry forward requests that are moving from one fiscal year to the other due to delays in the project itself. As many of you know, during the planning process for our capital project, we do our best to estimate the timing of when we expect to complete projects and move to, however, the timing of the expenses aren't always exact. What you really want to look forward when you look at like our CIP page in the budget is what's the end of the project. So many of these projects are already in flight. They're not, I don't have the detail on which project is going to end when, but in front of me. But many of these are ongoing projects. One thing I'll highlight here on this list, since the TCDA will be a separate action, is that first item right there for Universal Plaza. That is a TCDA, a separate item. Next slide, please. Now, so this next section, these are not carry forward items, but these are new requests or transfers of budget appropriations. So I'll go into a little bit more detail on these items since they are new items. So on the debt service side, this is a request to increase the appropriations for debt service for the Tiger Triangle. This is for the cinema site, the debt payments on that bond issuance. For HR, there's a request for a new broker consultant to help advise the city and negotiate on behalf of the city for improving our premiums for medical and dental and insurance costs, as those are continuing to climb year over year. For the library, there is a request for to expend funds that are received as donations from the Friends of the Tiger Library. So this is just an in and out. The funding comes directly from the Friends. However, we also have to recognize the expense on the city side as they provide the funds to the city. And then for the police department, there's a request for the Axon contract, which you heard earlier tonight, which did have an increase to their contract. And then the last item is not a new, it's a new request, but it's actually a reduction of funds for the Red Rock Creek stabilization project by $200,000, as TIF funds for that project were used for the cinema site. Next slide, please. On this slide, we have a few corrections to the budget. So these were inadvertent errors during the time of budget development. Some errors that were made due to import files, issues with our budget software. As you know, we are still fairly new into our current budget software, so these were inadvertent errors. So the first one I'll highlight is the vacation cash out. These are entitlements to many of our employees in our bargaining units, where they have the ability to cash out their unused vacation after they reach a certain amount of accruals. And so that total comes out to $661,000. And then For the police department, there was an inadvertent error to leave out salary for a temporary I believe it's actually a background investigator for $55,000. And that is a year-over-year line item that's been in the base budget for a number of years. That's inadvertently dropped. And then the last error was a $68,000 addition to the police department's budget that needs to be reduced. That's actually duplication. So that is just a reduction of appropriations for that program. Next slide, please. So overall, in summary, the first quarter supplemental will increase the overall city's budget by $4.5 million, which is net of $1.9 million in transfers. And so the way this is being funded is $4.26 million is from carryover funds from the prior year, which were unspent for the fiscal year 25. $470,000 is from grants and carryovers, and then $416,000 from contingency funds. And with that, that concludes my presentation, and happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Vang, I apologize, my mic wasn't on. Are there any callers in the queue?
The queue is currently empty.
Thank you, sir. My apologies for that. City Recorder Krieger, has anyone signed up in person?
No one signed up.
Okay. So at this time, I will close the public hearing. I guess I should be gaveling. And council will consider resolution number 25-33.
Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, I move to approve resolution number 25-33 to adopt the fiscal year 2026 first quarter budget supplemental.
I'll second the motion.
Motion was made and seconded to approve Q1 supplemental budget. Is there any discussion? Councilor Gudusi.
Just in looking at everything, the only main question that I have is with the vacation cash out correction. Have we reviewed it and made sure that doesn't happen again? Like, what was the postmortem after that?
Yes, we have taken steps to make sure that doesn't happen again. We are actually in the process of implementing a different platform for our budget so that this doesn't happen again. It was approved during the fiscal year 26 budget to have Questica, or I think that was in fiscal 25, sorry, the years crossed now. So we're implementing Questica, which will no longer have any imports. So the issue was we have Excel files that override when you import things, and so that was one of the errors that we had at the time. But we will not have that issue going forward.
Thank you. And just for clarification, when you were talking about the carry forwards, that means that these are all things that have been budgeted in the last cycle, but because they weren't implemented in time, we need to just update our current budget. So it's not that money is changing, we just moved it from one year to the next. So it's already funded things.
Correct. So I think this last slide right here is probably the best explanation for how these carry forwards will be funded. So 4.26 million of that was funds that were unspent in the prior fiscal year that we are requesting to move into the current fiscal year. There will not be any further drawdowns from our reserves to pay for any of these items.
Thank you so much.
Great follow-up. Thank you, Councilor Gudusi. Additional questions from council? Oh, there, yes, and I can't remember your name. Welcome. Why don't, I would like you to be on the mic, so why don't you come up to, thank you. Let's see it.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Director Kang. Thank you for the presentation. Just one quick question or two quick questions on the new requests. Could you please speak to why the finance portion and the police department contract portion are new requests in Q1 as opposed to having been included in the original budget?
So for the finance request, so that was a item for the purchase of the new cinema site that was shared publicly a few months ago, but the execution of that sale didn't happen until the current fiscal year, in the sale of the site. And so a bond was issued, and at the time the budget was developed, nothing had been finalized. Regarding the other question on the Axon contract. So there was a placeholder for an increase during the fiscal year 26 budget development. The increase was higher than expected, and so that's how we came up with that request.
Okay, thank you. So the contract was in the budget. It's just that the contract is 82,000 more.
Correct. That is the incremental increase from what the contract, what had originally been estimated for the contract.
Great, thank you. No further questions.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So with that, we will move with the motion that's on the floor. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries. Number 23-33 is adopted by unanimous support by votes of the council. Thank you all. And so now we will move to the Town Center Development Agency to order for the next 3 agenda items. I will now open the public hearing. Anyone that is interested in testifying may do that by phone, video, or in person, and may call to get into the queue now by calling 503-966-4101. And Finance Director King will present the staff report.
Thank you again. Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, members of council, and again for the record, Eric Kang, Finance Director. So I don't have a separate staff report for this section of the agenda. However, as we went over the PowerPoint slide in the prior agenda item, the request for the TCDA, or Town Center Development Agency supplemental budget, included the 2 items, one related to the Universal Plaza carry forward request, as well as the debt increase to the debt service payments for to service the bond issuance for the purchase of the cinema site. And with that, happy to answer any questions.
So as of now, there were no written comments that were received for this item by noon on Monday. Mr. Vang, are there any callers in the queue to testify?
No callers.
Thank you, sir. City Recorder Krager, has anyone signed up in person?
No one signed up.
At this time, I will close our public hearing. And now council will consider TCDA resolution number 25-06.
Chair Pro Tem Wolf, I move to approve TCDA resolution number 25-06, a resolution to adopt the fiscal year 2026 first quarter budget supplemental to Town Center Development Agency Urban Development for budget adjustments to capital improvement projects and debt service.
I second the motion.
Excellent. Motion was made and seconded. Are there any discussions? Councilor Gaddusi.
I'm just all sorts of trouble today. I'm sorry. Were there any changes made to the map of the area for the redevelopment assistance projects? And if not, why is there a random island in the middle of the center or the city center urban renewal district?
Councilor Gaddusi, I think you're jumping ahead.
Am I? Then never mind.
So this is just the budget supplemental.
Oh, then never mind. I apologize.
He is eager to ask his questions.
I'm really excited. Disregard. Disregard. Gotcha.
How fast can you think, Director King? Okay.
Thus my confusion. Thank you so much.
I love it. Okay. So assuming no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. TCDA resolution number 25-06 is adopted by unanimous vote of the Town Center Development Agency. The next item on the agenda is the Town Center Development Agency Redevelopment Assistance Process Review. And with that, Project Manager Farrelly will give the staff report.
I'm ready. Good evening, Chair Pro Tem Wolf and the directors of the Town Center Development Agency. Sean Farley, Redevelopment Project Manager. Tonight, the board is being asked to review some proposed changes to the redevelopment assistance application, criteria, and scoring, and to provide any feedback and to confirm that you're in favor of the changes. So redevelopment assistance is a TCDA program to assist development projects with funding gaps in our 2 tax increment financing districts, shown there. The first grant was made back in 2016. In total, there's been 9 grants, 3 in the city center and 6 in the Tiger Triangle, and those projects are shown on the map there. We've made a total of $6.95 million in grants, those 9 grants. Current application process was established in 2021, and it's basically as follows. I'll go through it quickly. Developer submits an application and project financial information, including the funding gap. After reviewing the application and financial information for eligibility, staff writes a memo and a recommendation on whether to approve and at what amount. The Town Center Advisory Commission reviews this application and memo. They receive a presentation from the applicant, and they consider making a recommendation to the TCDA board. Then the board reviews the recommendation and a development assistance agreement and decides whether to approve. And the grant funds are typically released when the project is complete. We've had a couple of exceptions to that, but that's generally the model. The redevelopment assistance grant program has been successful in incentivizing development that meets the goals of the 2 TIF district plans. As these areas mature, it's assumed that there will be fewer public incentives that'll be needed. However, the high cost of infrastructure construction is often a barrier to the kind of mixed use and affordable housing projects that are envisioned by the plan. Many areas of the TIF districts lack necessary infrastructure, or at times they require building entirely new street connections where none existed before. Staff proposes changes to the assistance program that'll specifically focus assisting projects with high infrastructure costs. So there's 2 attachments in your packet. One is the revised application, and the second is redevelopment assistance criteria. First, the application. So the current form is shown with track changes, and here are some of the highlights of those changes. It specifies that the purpose of the grant program is to assist with funding gaps that are caused by infrastructure costs and how those costs must be documented. The maximum grant remains the lesser of $1 million or 10% of the total project costs. Affordable housing projects are still awarded higher points per unit, but they also need to meet other TIF goals to qualify. And the last change to highlight, it makes explicit that temporary shelter projects are eligible. Now, the second document is the redevelopment assistance criteria. So the 7 criteria are the same, but this is a new document in that it includes detailed scoring. Points are awarded through more objective scoring systems. Previously, there wasn't a lot of guidance. Some of the criteria are qualitative. So this assistance criteria kind of gives us more to hang the score on. The TCAC reviewed these proposed changes at meetings earlier this year, and they did recommend approval of the changes. So happy to answer any questions and answers. Tonight we're just looking for a head nod to see if you're in alignment.
Thank you, Sean. So questions? Councilor Hu.
No question, Mayor Pro Tem, but I just want to thank the staff and the TCAC. I sat through several of those meetings. They went through this very carefully for several meetings, and so I really want to thank their hard work. And I agree that having affordable housing is no longer a given because you need to prove that you are advancing the goal of sidewalk and stuff. And I also appreciate including shelters. So now there's a more explicit definition of who's eligible for receiving assistance. So yeah, so thank you. I totally agree with this approach, but thank you for your work.
Councillor Shaw.
Great, thank you. Could you just give a brief for those who are watching what a temporary shelter would be, and why is that been included?
Well, two examples of temporary shelter. One would be the Family Promise. That's a temporary shelter for predominantly families, but also individuals who are experiencing houselessness. And then the other example that has been funded was the Just Compassion project. That's more of a traditional, shelter for providing beds for the night. And the reason it was included, the previous criteria did not exclude temporary shelter. I think it was pretty, not crystal clear, but could be interpreted as saying, housing, commercial properties, that shelter would have been included and has been included. So we're just making it clear, where before it was more of a interpretation of what the criteria was.
Thank you.
Very good. Councillor Gudusi. Oh.
I don't know if I haven't noticed this before, but can you speak to the little island in the middle of the city center urban renewal district that is not covered for the redevelopmental assistance process?
Yes, that is a, basically took out the right-of-way of the Park 217, I think. Had a couple different names, but the flex space area down kind of off Hall and 99 and 217. That right-of-way was taken out basically because when we amended the size of the district back in 2017, there was a miscalculation by a surveyor, and we slightly went over the maximum that we could amend the district by, the square, the acreage of the district. So for that reason, we took it out. Not a great solution, but we wanted to keep within the limitations of not expanding the acreage of the district by more than was permitted, and taking out right away seemed like the best way to do it.
Excellent question. Councillor Shack, did you have a question?
Just a comment first. Thank you for the history lesson on that front. I had wondered that before, and now we all know. But also thank you for making the temporary shelter bed section more explicit. I know that was one of my concerns when we last reviewed a grant application specifically for Just Compassion, where the council agreed with that interpretation, and I felt like it was getting a little on the fence. So I appreciate you making sure that was explicitly called out to align with the goals of the TCDA board, I should say, not the council.
Okay, so I think that Redevelopment Manager Farrelly is looking for just kind of a consensus nod. So if everyone is in support, I think you have that unanimous nodding up here. So thank you, Sean, very much. And we will move to our next item. And I think at this point, we have one more downtown wayfinding plan that is under this umbrella.
Great, thank you. So we'll go to the next PowerPoint, wayfinding. As that comes up, I'd like to introduce a couple of the presenters tonight. This is Wendell Cater. He is a community development project manager who started with the city back in January, and some of you have met him. This will be his first council presentation for the night. And also on the online, we have a consultant, Jill Roselle from Alta Planning, and she helped us come up with the wayfinding plan. So I'll
Hello.
let Wendell and Jill take it from here.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf and council members. I'm here to give you an update on the downtown wayfinding plan. Next slide, please. The agenda is a project overview, and then final wayfinding plan implementation, and then questions if there are any when we finish. Next slide, please. Next slide. The project extent is, the wayfinding project is located in the City Center TIP district. It is funded by TIP dollars. You can see the boundaries there. Eventually, this program could be rolled out citywide depending on funding availability. Next slide, please. The wayfinding advisory team included representatives of the Town Center Advisory Commission, Bob Tomasovic, Tigard Transportation Advisory Committee, the Tigard Downtown Alliance, and the Tigard Area Chamber of Commerce. Next slide, please. For public outreach, we had 692 community members provide input. Outreach included in-person events, flyers, social media, and online survey. That picture was one of the community engagement events. I think it was held in Universal Plaza. Next slide, please. You can see the public survey results there. There were 4 concept designs. Concept 1A had the most responses at 307. We used SurveyMonkey, Farmers Market, and Community Preparedness for our engagement with the community. Next slide, please.
Okay, so with that being the preferred design concept that the community chose, we then went forward with it and asked ODOT to review it to ensure that it would work in instances within ODOT right-of-way. And they had some edits to comply with their standards. You can see those here. Really relatively minor. The yellow color is not used in all of the signage. It's only used in areas that would just be for bikes and pedestrians, not on ODOT right away. And the logo is now a pictograph, and there's a topper sign that you'll see that emerges throughout the actual design that's selected. So next slide. There you can see what was submitted to ODOT and what they approved, and what the wayfinding advisory team then decided between the 2 options that ODOT had approved. So next slide. And then we compiled the final wayfinding plan. Next slide. Which included the design intent drawings. So you can see there's the city will be able to use these to get the signs manufactured. This is the kiosk and the fingerboard. We're also providing a couple of the kiosk maps. It's just shown as a blank inset here, but so these are, as mentioned, would be only in bike and pedestrian paths, not along ODOT right away. Next slide. And here you see the kind of remaining signs, decision signs, secondary access, confirmation, turn, and then the 3 on the right are the pavement markers that are also a part of this plan. Go to the next slide. Here you see the full sign family. Even with, some of the design changes that happen, there's a nice cohesive design throughout, and this would be the branding throughout the city potentially. Next slide. So the sign schedule. You can go to the next slide. So the project team worked with the city and the wayfinding advisory team to generate and categorize all of the downtown Tigard destinations, and considering what should be primary, secondary, and tertiary categories, which is really important when you're thinking about programming the signs. And all of that information was compiled into GIS, and a total of 80 specific signs were actually programmed within the TIF district. And so those all include directions, again, the destinations, including, character count, and making sure there's a consistent approach to the signage so that you can implement this as you move forward. We'll go to the next slide. And the sign placement plan is, of course, a very important part of the wayfinding plan. If you can go to the next slide. So this is just a snip of, what that looks like, and then you would be able to click into it and interact and find out exactly what the sign programming is and the location. And I will say there was a good deal of effort that went into looking at the existing signposts and making sure that we're consolidating wherever possible and guaranteeing that there's not a lot of sign clutter as these get implemented. And I believe really it's just intended to serve as a guide for you to implement these signs. And next slide. Speaking of implementation.
Next slide. So implementation for fiscal years 2025-26, the CIP has funding for the plan, implementation, construction and documentation, engineering, permitting, sign fabrication, and sign installation, and construction administration. The goal is to complete installation in downtown by fiscal year 2026-2027. We'll take any questions, if any. Thank you.
Thank you all for the presentation. Council, any questions? Councilor Robbins.
Hi, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you, Project Manager Cater, for your presentation. I do have a couple questions about the process. How come we didn't submit the designs to ODOT for approval before going out and getting feedback? And the reason why I'm asking is because it turns out that, at least from what I'm seeing here, the most popular design, 1A, that got 44% of the votes, actually wasn't approved by ODOT. And the two that were approved was 1B and 1D, which 1B was second to last as far as what people liked, at only 17% of people liking that one. And so now are we going to have the public walking around and saying, I didn't pick that sign design? It just seems like it would have been more efficient to have submitted the designs to ODOT, so then we weren't asking people to choose between signs that we had no possibility, not that we knew that, but that just weren't approved. Is there?
They were submitted to ODOT. Sorry, I went over you.
No, go ahead.
They were submitted in February, and then we didn't actually hear back until like October. It was part of the issue. I think there was a lag on ODOT's response time, and so we did work with them to be sure that the signs do hold to the integrity of what the public wanted. There was some issues with interpretation, and there was also just recently the MUTCD guidelines had changed, and so that also impacted how people were interpreting the signage code, I believe. I don't know if Sean or Wendell, if you have any more to add to that.
Just for the audience, could you explain what MUTCD is?
Yes.
Oh, geez. What does that acronym mean off the top of my head?
Well, its rules are about traffic signage. And
Yeah.
I guess they changed in the midst of this plan, and so ODOT not being timely in their comments, and then the change in some of these rules. That's why the preferred design was not selected. But I think what has resulted is pretty handsome design, and the wayfinding advisory team concurred. It carries forward, the not a tree but a leaf motif, which I think is nice, and similar colors other than yellow, which turns out that ODOT doesn't like to see yellow on signs because that could be interpreted as a warning, I guess.
So I just have one follow-up question. Am I to understand that they would have been, the two designs that were not approved would have been approved were it not for the change in the rules with the MC acronym?
The MUTCD. Yes, I believe at least like the pictograph, that was one of the big things that was kind of the tree and the interpretation of the word pictograph was something that we actually kind of went back and forth a great deal on. And some people at ODOT actually think it works, but not everybody. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Robbins, for the follow-up. Any other questions, comments? And I think this item was an FYI, just update on the sign. So thank you all for being here this evening. So I think now we are back to our council roles. And at this time, council will discuss options for filling the mayor vacancy. And with that, City Attorney Rahala will lead the discussion.
Good evening, and there is a slide presentation with this, please. Thank you. All right, so the question before council tonight is really to focus on the process for how we're going to conduct filling the mayor's vacancy. So with the vacancy created, Council President Wolf stepped in automatically by our charter and became Mayor Pro Tem. So that is automatic until council appoints a new mayor to fill the seat. It is important to clarify that the filling of the vacancy is only for the remainder of the term, so this does not start a new term. Mayor Loob's term ended December 31st or ends December 31st of 2026, and so this will only fill the vacancy until that point. So regardless of what approach council takes, this seat will be on the ballot in November of 2026 for a full 4-year term. So this appointment is for a term of a little over a year to fill that vacancy. So our charter provides 2 ways by which to fill a vacancy. The first one of those is by appointment, and the second is by special election. So council may appoint to fill the remainder of this term. That could happen. So what we're looking for tonight is the process by which that could happen. I do want to note special election is the other option. I won't spend a lot of time on that because that is not an option allowed by charter, because the filing deadline for that election, for the next special election, was September 5th. We do not have time to have the 1-year gap that our charter requires. So if it had happened just a little bit sooner, we would have been able to put candidates on the next special election, but that is not a possibility right now, so we're solely focused on the appointment.
And City Attorney Rahala, I don't think you gave the date of the next special. So if you could just clarify that,
Yes.
just to really quantify why this isn't a possibility.
Yes, so the next election date is November 4th of 2025. The filing deadline for that was September 4th of 2025. So the next election, the next election with a deadline that hasn't passed is March 10th of 2026. The filing deadline for that is January 8th of 2026. However, because the term ends December 31st of 2026, there is less than that year gap. So
thank you.
So that is why the special election is not an option by charter. So if we're going to focus on appointment, council has 2 options, is either to so let's go to the next slide, please. So if we're going to fill by appointment, council can either appoint a seated member or open a full process. If it's a seated member, council could either fill that tonight or could fill it at a future meeting. So there's a couple decision points in tonight's process. So the first question of does council want to appoint internally or from an external process? I would say that's a good starting point for conversation. And then we can move on from there, because that will affect the direction that council gives staff. So I'll pause there for discussion. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, first of all, City Attorney Rahala. So let me ask the first question to council. Are you comfortable with this as our first question? Do we appoint internally or externally, or open that up? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, so if that is the first cut line, I will start and give my opinion, and then Councilor Gadusi, if I could shift to you, and we'll just work down the line. My opinion, and I have opted to not put my name up to be a permanent mayor. This has been an amazing learning opportunity, but for me personally, there are some specific projects that I'm really excited about. Building a Better Tigard is one of them, plus a few others, and some of the other organizations that I feel so fondly about that I will continue to serve on those as well. So I share that because this isn't about an opportunity for me as much as this council has set goals. This council has worked hard on ground rules. We have work to do on how we build successful council functions. And so I would like to see a mayor appointed from within, because I think we have work to do, and welcome an outside appointment clearly for a council opening. But I do think that it's important in this short year, and for someone that has completed 5 elections, those terms go very quickly. So it will be summer, and candidates will be thinking about being mayor very soon. So I do think that we have work to do. I would like to see a mayor within our group lead us into the next year and really fulfill the important work that we have committed to. So that's my opinion. Councilor Gadusi, I'll shift to you, and we'll just go straight down. And you have, yes, Youth Councilor Halleck, please.
I was just wondering if, when everyone's going down the line, if you could just say whether or not you would be willing to take up the mayor position, if we talk about wanting to appoint within council, just so that I have an idea of what's going on, and hopefully other people want an idea of what's going on too.
I think
like
that's a
you
great
did.
question.
But just
Thank you
wondering
for
if
the
people can do that.
clarification. So with that, Councilor Gadusi.
Thank you. I'll start with saying that I've been very vocal about having zero interest in the mayor position, so we'll start with that from the get-go.
We thank you for your service.
Given their resignation, I do feel that the community does want more transparency in the selection process. And the next election that's allowed by the charter would be the November election of next year, it sounds like. I would propose continuing as a pro tem until that time, which is not really one of the decisions, and I know puts a lot of burden on you, but that's what I would propose.
Is that an option?
So there is a vacancy. Let me pull up the charter really quick so I can get you the right language. You can continue discussing. I'll come back to you.
With that, we will move on to Councilor Slack, and thank you, Councilor Gadusi.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Wolf, and also I just want to take this moment to thank you publicly for stepping into this role in very sudden circumstances. I think the council really appreciates the hard work that you've done in this turbulent time and getting us back on track, so thank you so much. I will not be seeking appointment to be Tigard's next mayor. I am focused on making the most positive impact possible in my current role as a city councilor. But I would like to take this moment to reaffirm my commitment to leading by example in this workplace and in this community. I also reaffirm my focus on getting the essentials right: police, public works, housing, parks, our homelessness response, the budget, and other items. Those are my priorities and the priorities against which I will evaluate Tigard's next mayor. We have 406 days until the next election, and this council still has a lot to do to achieve its goals and rebuild trust with our city organization and community. I am ready to heal old wounds and get back to work. Regarding whether I would prefer internal or external, I would prefer internal because I think that we are currently part of a 2-year council cycle. We set council goals and have issued policy direction, and I would like to see an internal appointment because I want the mayor to be someone who is part of those discussions, who understands our collective vision for this period of Tigard City Council history, and I think that would be appropriate. Plus, we will, if we do that, have to backfill an open city council position for the remainder of whomever's term is vacated by an internal appointment. So there is still appointment to get fresh perspectives on the council and as part of council discussions going into the next election. That would be my preference.
Thank you, Councilor Schlack. You, Councilor Hellick, would you like to just give comment?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think that while I understand internal appointment could and probably would be really beneficial, I also think that we have gotten so much input from the public over these past couple weeks that people really, really want public involvement. And I think that if it's not in the cards to hold a special election, then, you know, it's not in the cards. What we do has to be realistic, but I think that there needs to be public involvement, and I think that holding the ability to apply for the position, I guess, I don't really know how to word it, to the public would be really important, because I think that it's important that we maintain trust with the city, and I think that if we do not at least have some sort of public involvement, then there's going to be a lot of backlash and people are going to be really upset. And I think it's really important that we also, while understanding that it's important to value the council's goals and council's values, that we also need to make sure that we are thinking about what the people of the city care about and what they want. And I think that that is really important. So that's my opinion.
And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think you've done an excellent job as well, and want to thank you for taking up the helm. I recognize that as having been involved in a number of community members with the charter process that was updated and voted by and approved by our community, that it negates the ability to have an election and appointment. And because of that, and because of being the longest tenured counselor and understanding what the process would take, it takes more than even 6 months to a year to understand the different components of the city. And because we've had disruption with the mayor's resignation, I would not want our city to be not able to move forward, because we wouldn't have a counselor who understood some of the nuances, and whether it's budget, economic development, housing. And so with that, I would opt for a seated counselor. And also with that recommendation, I would like to self-nominate or be nominated for the mayoral position for several reasons. I think we need to have a fresh start from the past of those who are prior leaders. I also think that I believe in a shared leadership. It's a servant leadership, and it's one that places the needs of our community and our council first. It also is their defined responsibilities in our charter, and again, our community members took care to discuss and put in what those mayoral duties are. There's 4 of them. They're fairly administrative. But I'm willing to be not only an effective leader, but a shared leader. And I would say that this council all deserves to have the equal authority to make decisions and to work together. And I think that reflects both the respect as well as the inclusion of each one of us as counselors. And also, I would like to model the ethical behavior. I'd like to maintain the fiscal responsibility and foster a supportive environment for not only just the staff, for council, and for public. I think we do need some healing, and I'd like to be considered as a nominee for mayor to help that healing process move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I agree that we need to appoint someone internally just for all the reasons stated, stability, just mayor, even though mayor has 1/7 the vote, equal voting power as the rest of council, the mayor does have a unique duty. That person will be the public face, and so they will be out there speaking, especially advocating on behalf of building a better project. So it doesn't make sense to me right now to have somebody from outside to do that, to have that role. Also, the mayor has a unique role of coordinating our policy-making roles. So it will make sense to have somebody who already is familiar with all the councilors and already have an existing working relationship. And I recognize your point of public wanted input. But I just want to remind you that if we did appoint somebody internally from mayor, there will be a new city councilor seat opening up. And that would be I think that would be a perfect opportunity for public input. And I'm thinking that maybe we should think about what that process should be like. I think unlike the last appointment process, which fortunately we got Councilor Schlack in, maybe we can have more public input. Maybe we'll have a committee that would help us pre-select some candidate if we are fortunate enough to have a huge selection again this year. So I understand your worry about public involvement, but I think there will be an opportunity for the city councilor seat if we appoint somebody internally from the mayor. Does that make sense? Okay. And also, I would like to I wanted to throw in the hat and nominate myself as the mayor candidate as well. And are we ready to, was that the speech or interest, or we will save that for later?
So what I would like to suggest is that we, if there's anything you want to add, Councilor Hu, but I think to you, Councilor Hellick's question, even if we end up internal, the question of how do we get community interest? What do the questions look like? We still haven't touched the process.
Right.
So I think it is premature to kind of dive into your statement, because I don't think we're there yet.
Okay,
but I
good.
appreciate, Councilor Shaw, what you shared. So if there's anything else you want to add, Councilor Hu, but
that's
I
all
think
I
we
have
have a
right
whole
now.
host of things to cover to honor that piece and move forward from there. And
Thank you.
the only other thing, Youth Councilor Halleck, that I would add to is this position, not pro tem, but the real thing, is so important to a city. And what I do not want is an appointment of this council to have a mayor who then is an incumbent on an election. Because I don't think that every Tigard voter pays as close attention to everything that we do all the time. And so I think it's really important that that is a more open slate. And certainly the council, I too am very excited about having a committee that maybe interviews the first round of candidates and then moves forward a smaller group for council to consider. All those things are things, council appointment will certainly be later along the line. But so let's pause on why I want to be candidate, and let's finish with Councilor Robbins and then go back to the process. So thank you.
Thank you. First off, I've been a city councilor for 8.5 months now, or is it 9.5? Somewhere in there, 8.5, I think. And I'm still learning things every day, learning who does what, learning what we're supposed to do, what we're supposed to leave to city staff to do, what meetings I'm supposed to show up at, and stuff like that. And in addition, my son said I absolutely was prohibited from trying to be mayor, so because he wanted to see me some this year, so I will not be seeking the seat at this time. I want to just voice that I think we as a council have been somewhat stymied in doing the important work of the city this year. First, we had to hire a new city manager and have an interim city manager. And then we took a longer time than we should have, I think, to approve our council goals and approve council ground rules. Those went back and forth multiple times. And it's hard to get any work done when you haven't even approved how you're going to get that work done or the work that you want to get done. So I am eager to get to work. You know, here we are in September, we are dealing with this current controversy and the need to designate a new mayor. I think that Mayor Pro Tem Wolf has done an excellent job, but I understand her, just like me, saying this isn't the right time for me. And it's a tremendous amount of time and pressure to be, you know, the top face of the city, whereas we all are equal votes. And I just want to make that clear that that's one of my priorities moving forward, is to make sure council does act as an equal council where we all have equal votes. And if we don't all agree, that's great. We shouldn't all agree. That's how democracy works. We have received multiple requests for an election so that the public has a say. We've already established that we can't do that. I don't think appointing someone from externally is allowing the public to have a say. It's just picking someone, you know, from the numerous people who raise their hands. We're still just picking someone that we would pick. And I think that would be unfair both to the city, to council, and to that person who was appointed, who was thrown in and has to be the face of the city, going to all the events and kind of following in the footsteps that we're trying to reset here this year. So I think the most efficient and fair option would be for the city to appoint internally. It's going to be for 14 months, 14 and a half months, somewhere along there. We can then get to work on the many projects that we have planned this year. It's already almost the end of the year, and I want to get to work. So.
City Attorney Rahala, do you have any follow-up from Councilor Gaduces?
Yes, thank you. So section 5.6 on filling vacancies does say that in the event of a vacancy, the council may fill the vacancy for the remainder of the term by election or appointment. And then in the council president section above, it does say in the event the mayor is unavailable to serve, the council president will serve as the mayor pro tempore. So there is not an obligation in the charter to fill the vacancy. I'm sorry. But the point that was raised about a vacancy being created that then is not filled is valid, because council will then have to, if a current member of council is appointed, that vacancy would have to be filled as well. So if the council president does become the pro tem for a long duration, the council president role would have to be separately voted on and appointed also.
So what I'm hearing as a majority moving forward is there is an interest to appoint. And Councilor Gadusi, thank you for that unexpected recommendation. And I do want to say it has been an honor, although, you know, brief, but certainly to serve in this capacity. I love the city. We have some fantastic goals. Councilor Schlack listed those out, and some new areas that we care deeply about, and whether that is in economic development, are really focusing on houselessness. A lot of the comments around wanting an election is how are we managing that area, and that is also something that I'm very committed to look at how we work with our regional partners and our neighbors to manage that. So what I'm hearing is that we will move forward with an internal appointment, and I hear that we have 2 counselors that are interested, but I'm going to put a pause button on the counselors, and now we're going to go to process. So what does that look like to ensure that, is there an opportunity for questions that we want to ask our council members? Is there an opportunity to get questions from external partners? So what are you all thinking about that? And with that, Councilor Robbins, I'll flip to the other side and I'll have you start.
Can you repeat the question?
So
How do we do
actually,
this?
So we can go to the next slide.
Yay.
It's almost like you had this scripted. So the next question then is really, what does the process look like? So typically for an appointment, council has either come up with interview questions, come up with written questions that they would like. Really, it's what kind of information does council want to gather? Does council want to do something we haven't done before, some community town hall or something? This is entirely at council's discretion. And then what does the timeline for that look like? So staff is here to take direction on that and happy to gather your feedback.
Thank you. I don't want to take a long time to do this because we have a lot of steps to accomplish, right? We have to appoint a mayor, and then hopefully we don't have to appoint a new council president because she'll continue that. But then we're going to have to start recruiting and advertising and starting the process of appointing somebody to fill a council seat. So I would move to continue fairly quickly. I don't think we have to decide tonight because I would like to, allow some people time to reply, send in some emails, and not have those emails be, I said I wanted input and then you went and voted without me even getting to have any input. So I'd like to you wait at least a couple weeks since we don't have a meeting next week. It might be interesting to have a couple questions submitted from the public if that doesn't take too long. I think we know each other and know our priorities and know how we work well, so that part is, I feel comfortable with that, but it would be interesting to hear, if anyone really is interested and wants to have some input, send us an email.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would be excited by the process to have some questions submitted by the community. I'd be curious how they would be chosen, because we certainly, if we had hundreds of questions, that could be a very long interview process for both myself and Councilor Hu. And I also agree with Councilor Robbins, having it on the more expeditious side because we do have lots of projects we'd like to move on. So with that, I would welcome questions as well.
Youth Councilor.
I don't really have anything to add. I agree with everyone down the line.
But I do appreciate you really pushing on, we need outside input, and that was very valuable, and I think it's really guiding this conversation, so thank you. I totally agree. I know that there's time set aside on the October 7th agenda, so that we could do this kind of part one, part two. And I love the idea, and I'm sure that either City Attorney Rahala or City Manager Stockwell can come up with how do we random, pick questions, but have that kind of opportunity for council to have questions, as well as work on gathering that input from our community. And then go from there. And so I don't have anything to add. I don't know if there's a time to have an opportunity to start earlier and have a mini forum here in City Hall that gives people that opportunity to meet the two of you and just ask those questions where council would be present so that we could hear your responses. That's another option we can talk about or see if there's interest in that. And with that, Councilor Shack.
I'm just imagining the headlines of Who versus Shaw on October 7th, It's gonna must-see television.
We get along great. It'll
I
be
know,
a nice,
but
orderly.
Still, political junkie like me, that's how I read it. And I just to clarify, really respect you both as colleagues. I think either of you would serve with honor and distinction as our next mayor. So, all kidding aside. So, being serious, I want to be very mindful of the precedent we're setting right now in terms of appointing a mayor. I don't recall the last time a mayoral appointment has happened in Tigard history. Of course, we can all recall the last city council one, and I imagine we would sort of defer to the process we had less than a year ago at this point for a city council vacancy. I feel like what we set tonight as the expectation will be something that future councils may have to look back to. So I want to be really mindful of what we're doing. I want to be very mindful that since we are appointing internally and there is there are a lot of community members submitting public comment about wanting their voice heard, that we make sure that this mayor is set up for success and viewed up as our legitimate, duly appointed mayor. And I also think it's really important that we have two members of the council who have presented themselves as a city councilor, but I want to make sure that community members understand their vision, their values for this new role that they are seeking as Tigard mayor. So I fully support having questions. I mean, this morning it was like 4 or 5 a.m. and I woke up, I'm like, how am I going to choose between Councilor Hu or Councilor Shaw potentially? And I wrote down 12 questions. I'm like, these are the things I would need to know in order to make that decision. So I would love to have at least one of those incorporated to the many questions I'm sure we will get. Thank you.
Councilor Gaddusi.
Thank you. So I dug into it, and there is precedent. So there have been mayors that have died while in office. During those times, there was an internal appointment. I don't remember who it was. I think it was before Dirksen and like one or two before them. So are there dates on that wall? That would be great. No. So in the past, there have been mayors that have passed away while in office, and they have sort of voted internally. That said, I would still push for us to do the regular election next November and continue to have you as a pro tem. And I know that there's a reason why Councilor Hu likes the word shall rather than may and things like the city charter, but it was there. Thank you.
So I feel like it's clear as mud right now. So what I hear from a majority voice is we will make a decision at the October 7th council meeting. We would like questions from community members so that we have an opportunity for that. Councilor Schlack has prepared questions, so I also invite councilors to submit questions. So then the question is, do we then have an opportunity for you both to share your statements, your values, your vision, so we hear that, and then have open questions during the council meeting before council starts? And if these are in the weeds logistics, we can talk about this offline and then, publicly post that ASAP this week so people know what's coming up. Direction, thoughts, City Attorney Rahala or City Manager Stockwell?
Yeah, thanks. So it would be helpful to know how many questions you're looking at, and if you would like the questions shared with the candidates in advance, or whether you want us to just surprise you the night of. But knowing the number of questions, we can kind of help structure the meeting, so that would be helpful.
That's a great question. And Councilor Schlack was fast with the hand up, so I'm going to start with him.
Going back to sort of precedent or recent memory, I thought the format from the city council process worked well, where there were 5 questions provided ahead of time and then 5 questions on the spot. Of course, pre-selected, and I want to be very mindful to the public to make sure that councilors Hu and Shaw do not receive those 5 questions ahead of time. They're not part of those deliberations, just for the sake of fairness. So that would be my recommendation.
So we'll have to propose questions get directed to a staff member is where they should go versus #council. But we'll figure out that and make, I'm sure, a press release or announcement time soon. So any other questions, thoughts, comments? Councilor Shaw.
Thank you all for this very robust conversation, thoughtful conversation. So for clarity, October 7th will be there will be questions, 5 that we'll know about, 5 that are unknown for both Councilor Hu and myself, and it'll be within the time frame of that evening for October 7th.
That is my assumption or my vision for the night, and then council will vote that night. So on October 7th, we will be moving forward. Now, obviously, we will not likely do the swearing in that evening, but that would happen very quickly after that, is what, I'm looking at, City Attorney Rahala, we're nodding on that.
Yeah, so our charter does require the oath be taken before a member of council can assume any of the duties. So we can either have, in the past, we've done it both ways with a ceremonial appointment separate from the actual appointment, or we can just do them one at the same. So I believe you all took the oath prior to the first council meeting, just so that there was continuity in case something disastrous happened at 12:01 on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. So we can do it that way, and we can have the selected candidate take the oath immediately with our municipal court judge or our city recorder, take that oath, or we can have the municipal court judge here. We can do the ceremony. We can also separate it. We can do whatever you want to do. We can separate it and have the ceremonial oath taken at the following meeting. If people want friends and family to be able to come for that, it is whatever council wishes.
I mean, there's part of me, although I guess I would do two-part, because it's a big deal. And I, as Councilor Slack said, you both are extremely strong council members, and that is something to be celebrated and honored. And so I would like to have the vote done and then very quickly have a follow-up ceremony. The thing that's different is we are all functioning voting council members, as opposed to having that kind of funky first week of January where you don't have a quorum of council members. So that's indifferent to me if we have a swearing in at the very beginning of the next meeting, or if you do it privately and then just ceremonially. I don't care about that. So. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, I agree with that. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that. I'll add also with the 10-question format, it was like 30 minutes per interviewee last time, so I think we can get through a lot that evening in terms of content and all of that.
Maybe we should have a fast button so whoever does it first.
Give them a
Speed run.
Give them a public comment timer.
You can tell I'm not running. So,
And appreciate
yes,
the clarity.
Shaw.
Thank you very much.
Okay, additional questions, comments? City Attorney Rahala, does that seem to make sense? Or
That does make sense. Thank you. I think anything else we can work out behind the scenes. Two final notes. We will want to close the opportunity for public comment probably a week-ish in advance so that staff has time to reconcile and do that. So council's agreement on that. And then special thank you to Brian Rager, who was able to answer tonight's quiz question. It was Mayor Jim Nicolai who passed away, and then Jim Griffith was appointed.
that's what I was thinking of Jim Griffith, but I forgot about Jim Nicolai. I remember that now. So thank you. And thank you, Brian, for closing and honoring those men for serving the city. So thank you. Okay, so I think we have a plan. Yes, Youth Councilor Howitt.
Just want to check and make sure. Is it going to be like a big announcement for people in the city to submit and ask questions? I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to, because I think that maybe like 1.5 people tune into the full meeting, if that, every week. So I know, but I just want to make sure that everyone actually knows that this is an option, so that no one, hears about the new appointment and says, why didn't I know about all the questions I could ask? Because I'm sure that if it wasn't super clear.
So I also believe that we can promote, and there will still be people that say, why didn't I know about this? How come you didn't tell anybody?
That'll always happen.
That always happens. And I do think that more than 1.5 actually tune in.
I don't know.
I think they are.
I hope so.
So to that point, I am certain that there will be social media push or some kind of push out to our community that and for those that are paying attention, good on them. And then I'm not trying to exclude anyone, but hopefully through social media, through a push out from the city, that will get that attention. And this is an important process, so I do hope people are paying attention and thinking about that. And I also hope, Youth Councilor Halleck, that there's an opportunity to get a youth question. So if there's a way to promote that, and we can maybe work with you on how to do that through Tigard High and see if there's a question. So
I'm great at talking. I do it all the time.
So I think we're set for this evening. Great conversation. And again, appreciate you both for really stepping up to do this really important position. And I think with that, we are adjourned. So good night, Tigard, and thank you all for being here.